One thing that I'm noticing lately is the shift in dynamics with relationships, right?
Hmm.
Parents, children, intimate relationships, boyfriends, girlfriends, friends, right? There has been a lot of, we know this, all the energies coming in, but I'm hearing from a lot of my clients that there's a shift in the power dynamic. So one thing that I'm noticing with some of my clients is this shift in the dynamic of the relationship, right? Um, Not so much power dynamic, but just tolerance, I think, understanding kind of what each other's roles are with this ascension.
Human patience with each other.
Patience, yes, patience, compassion, and also just understanding that things will change, right? Everything is going to shift and change. And so if you've been used to having somebody around forever and ever, and then all of a sudden that ends, right?
Hmm.
Nothing negatively at all for no negative reasons, just because it changes, we tend to want to stay with what we know. And there's
Hmm.
been some power dynamics I've noticed with some of my clients with children, right? With older children, younger children. And I think one thing that we should remember, at least be mindful of, try to remind ourselves, right, is number one, don't go into the battleground. Try not to be reactive. But also, you mentioned, why do we, if there's only two choices, either love or fear, why is it so hard to choose love in each and
Yeah.
every moment? And I think sometimes, honey, it's because we don't know what the other side is. We don't know how to let go. We don't know how to
Yeah.
just be okay with the uncertainty of something, right? If something changes and it's different now, and you're not going to react anymore, or you're not going to go into the battleground with this person, but you've had a lifetime of dancing, fighting, right? They jump into the ring, you jump into the ring, right? And then you duke it out. But what we're saying now is the best answer is just to stay outside of the ring, go within, have some quiet, and don't react. And that's easier said than done, especially when you have someone screaming at you and making life really hard for everyone, right? Or saying things that will trigger you personally, that they know, right? They know your weak spots. But I always say this, even in my own marriage or my own relationships with my kids, they in that moment are the biggest teachers.
Yeah. Because each person, each event that we see, everyone and
Mhm.
everything is an aspect of us, which
Right.
means it's part of us because again, we are all one, which is a very challenging concept to take on because we've always been so used to like, Letty, you're separate from me, you're not part of me, that other person is separate, pardon me, is separate from me. And so yeah, the question is, if somebody is going through a difficult time, whether it be from relationships or whatever, we all go through that. And
Mhm.
then we know now that we are more awake, spiritually awake, that in every moment there are only two choices, and the choice is no one can make the choice for us. It is
Yeah.
us who need to make the choice. But most of us, including me, keep choosing the same thing over and over again, and then the same things happen over and over again in our
Yeah.
life, and then we wonder why, and we kind of
Yeah.
circulate around that until it gets into a downward spin. There are only two choices in every moment. Why is it so difficult and challenging to choose the other side?
Well, it's habit, out of habit, complete
Habit.
habit. It's also something we know.
And also I
It's kind of
think, yeah,
what do you think?
control.
Control. That's what I was going to
Yes,
say.
you want to
Yeah,
control the
control.
situation so much
Hmm.
because you're scared, you're fearful that if you don't have control of that, something bad will happen.
Well, and also, especially if have a controlling nature, okay?
Well, we all do. I do. And that has
And
been the cause of the major distress in my life.
yeah, yeah, mine too.
Yeah.
Mine too. But what's interesting is, because I just, this, right? You know this, Irene, and I'm sure that the audience, I'm telling you guys right now, I had major breakthroughs, lots of boulders being moved out of my life the last couple months, right?
Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons why and it was in my face, guys, talk about like big screen, like it was like a movie theater screen big, right? It was huge. Um, but one of the things that I realized when it was in my face that I lost control over a situation because of a major blessing that had happened, which was great. And there was nothing wrong about it. But in my mind, I'm going, oh, hmm, well, I can't hold that over their head anymore, and seeing that, I was really, I felt ashamed of myself, but I also in that instant realized, okay, I'm not losing anything by letting this be what it is. I'm not losing anything. I'm gaining here. Why am I not seeing the fullness? Why am I seeing the lack, right? Why am I freaking out that I won't have control when all I really, in reality, I just gained a ton of freedom, a ton of freedom, a ton of abundance in every way, everything you could possibly imagine. And I think it was, really for me, it just came down to I didn't know myself outside of that controlling personality.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's
so
what it
I
is. The
don't want to,
fear of the unknown.
yeah, the fear of the unknown. Yeah. Am I going to be weak? Was this mean for me? Oh my gosh, I'm turning a whole new leaf. And what if I don't like that new Letty? Right. And I had to really just say, you're looking at the glass half full here. You're not even giving any credence or any chance to this situation. Come on, this is insane. And I when I looked at myself from outside myself and I saw the insanity behind that thought, or that, yeah, the thought that I had, I realized, oh, okay, so insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result from
Yeah, but
everyone
the
around you.
good thing you're able to see yourself. You
Yeah,
were able
no.
to go
Oh yeah.
out and see
Mhm.
yourself as like, oh, look at me, how silly
Yeah,
I am.
yeah.
That's a good thing. But it has
Not
happened to
everybody can.
me. No,
Yeah.
and it has happened to me when all of this knowledge that we're talking about, that we know now about spirit, about who we are, but it still has happened to me where I was like, I know what's happening, but I can't get out of this. I feel
Get out of.
so distressed. I feel bad. I hate everyone.
Yeah.
I don't like doing, you are in that deep depression. So what do you, and you can't, that you have to get out of it and look at it from above and say like, oh, hey, look at me being silly there. And now I shouldn't do that now. But I stay there. I stay there knowing all of
Mhm.
this. Right. So I'm just saying this because for all those who are listening and who are
Yeah.
in that situation or have been in that situation, that yes, you know don't feel bad, because it does
No.
happen. Being human, it does happen to
Yeah.
us.
It does happen
And
a
so
lot.
what do
Mhm.
you do? I don't know what
I think
I
it.
mean. With myself, I did, like, I just stayed there. I mean, I stay there. I cried because I felt like I want to cry. I cried and I got angry. I spat out.
Mhm.
I was throwing stuff. Sometimes I do that. And then you
Yeah.
just release that energy. And then eventually, after a few days, I just got over it
Yeah.
for some reason.
Well,
And I prefer not to go through that, but I think I'm better each time.
you are. And you know
Yeah.
what? Let me tell you this. The minute you point the light of not of knowingness toward something, toward a behavior, it loses its luster, right? The moment you shine light on it, because you can see it now, you're recognizing it. Oh, well, that's not as ugly as I thought. Oh, well, that's not a monster, that's a mouse, right? It just, the moment the light shines on it and you see it for what it is and you see that part of yourself, you go, "Oh, okay, so I can't do that anymore. Now I got to try something different." For me, mine wasn't to throw anything or to get mad or cry. My reaction always was to run,
Mm.
to leave. I'm out of here. Fine, fine, slam the door, get in the car, go,
Find
or
my
move the
fine
furniture,
feathered friend.
friend, freaking it, right? You're just cussing up a storm, yeah, pounding on the floor. And what's funny is now the big blessing, right, that happened was an avalanche of abundance and blessings and all this beautiful stuff. But now I have nowhere to go. So I literally have to like find a new way to work through those emotional moments, to work through those feelings where the rage comes in or the deep disappointment comes in because it didn't go my way, right? Or they're not listening, right? Um, what that's going to do, what that has propelled me to do is go on a walk, go outside and do some breathing, or just not call. That was one thing that stopped about, I would say, 8 years ago, was calling everyone who I, in my little phone book, right? Ring. And I'd call and say, guess what happened? Oh my gosh. So that was the
You're
first
making
big
the issue
shift.
bigger.
Yeah, that was the
You're
first
right.
first big thing I learned was don't be calling the whole world because then they're going to hold you to your stuff, right? Well, that stopped years ago, but I was still running to the next room. I was taking my blanket and my pillow and I was like, I'm out of here. Well, I can't do that anymore because now there's no room. It's just, I got to stick it out. But because in my heart, I do want to stick it out. I think sometimes we get so incensed and we just cannot calm ourselves down enough to hear hear the voice of God and hear our angels because they are saying it's okay. It's okay. Choose love. Choose, we love you. We're here. And what's interesting is I've read some materials on the Essenes, right?
Right.
And the Essenes it was a very secret society. It was a very secret thing during the time of Jesus, right? Even before Jesus. Well, one of the things that they talk about was Jesus as a child, Jesus as a young man.
Mhm.
He was so aware of the world around him, of the environment, of the energy, that he absorbed a lot of things. And I think we forget that our children and everyone at this point on this earth right now is absorbing a lot of this light, guys. We're going through a physical and genetic transformation that has never happened ever on this planet, ever, in millennia, billions of years.
And you would know that
So
because of what's happening in our personal lives.
in our personal lives, yes. And
There's a
so
lot.
and there's a lot. And so, but if you don't have this information, you think you're losing your shit, or you think you're going crazy. You're not going crazy. But one of the interesting things that I read in this book was because he was so aware and kind of like he had no skin, right? He was feeling everything at such an intense level that when he felt his body absorbed all this emotion around him and they lived in occupied territory. It was, it wasn't like we have life nowadays, guys. It was hard, hard, hard life back then. And he would have these moments where he would feel overwhelmed and he would rage and he would get angry and he would just cut his little fists, he'd get really angry and he had to learn how to calm himself down. That was part of his teaching from God, right? Was he just at that point he had to remove himself, go off for a while and just calm down and get into his center. However that was. However that was. And I think we hear about this in the Bible. He would take off. Mary and Joseph, they lost him in the city, right? In that one story. And they found him at the synagogue, right? So he had a tendency to kind of take off and do his own thing. But I think that if we look at that and apply it to ourselves now, you know, as long as we know that we're going to be okay and that this is just a moment and we can find a better way and that we're validated, it is okay. There's a lot happening around you. Don't be too hard on yourself. I think choosing love is important, but choosing love for yourself is first and foremost, I think.
Yeah.
And being gentle with
I mean,
yourself.
why are we too hard on ourselves? And when we are hard on ourselves and we are also hard on other people around us.
Yeah.
Again, it's the control. It is still in that, how they say like the Piscean age, which we are leaving, we're going to the Aquarian age. The Piscean age is all about control and authority. So that's probably why, all of us are like that, having this like, I need to control this situation. I need to know. I want to know what's happening. Otherwise, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
It's all that control because we don't want the unknown. We don't know. We're fearful of what we could experience, but that is not so. We're fearful of what? Dying? I mean, I know.
I think change.
No, it's a belief.
I think change.
Yeah, change
Yeah,
because we don't know. It's like I think that what we can do is just accept things as they are and not push against it. Not push against something. We push against something like, no, don't do that, don't do this, or no, I shouldn't be doing that, I shouldn't be doing this. Then that's where, that's where the block is. Like we forget, let's just be, let's just live, let's not compare ourselves to others. The comparing to others is actually very detrimental to us, and because we stop growing, we stop living, right? And choose again, always. That's a teaching of Spirit. That's definitely the teaching of Jesus. or Abraham Hicks or whoever it is, right?
Right. That you're listening to. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all the same teachings. It's just said in different ways. It's choose again. If what's happening at the moment is not what you prefer, what you don't want this, then okay, what's the opposite of this? So the opposite is this other thing, which is always the light. So you're in darkness now. For example, give me an example. For example, you have an argument with your partner, for example, right?
Right.
And it's like, it's because he or she did something that I really don't like and shouldn't have done, that disrespected me, that kind of thing. And then you feel really bad. You feel bad, and then you ruminate with that idea. And so now applying the principle of choose again, choose the right mind of God, choose again. Then how do you choose again? How do you go and choose, like, okay, well, that doesn't really matter in the big scheme of things. This is all just an experience. This is a journey. Therefore, I will not put any value into this argument. What do I want to value? I want to value my life. I want to value, like, oh, hey, I want to do this. I want to go and travel to this area, or I want to go and swim in the ocean. Then go do that. That's what you value. It doesn't have to be a big thing, right? You value being alone, for example. You value going out into your garden and being with nature rather than ruminating about your partner. So it doesn't have to be a big thing that would cost you money to do, or why was I mad? Why was I angry? Oh, because he or she did this something, and that actually pertains to control again. You want that person to do something that would please you. And if they didn't do that, that's going to displease you. And then here we go.
And then it starts. One thing that I realized from my last experience into Never Neverland was, and it really was a very sinister little voice in my head, I have to say. I paid attention to how it felt and how it sounded in my ear, my head, right? My inner ear. And it was really like, you don't need this shit. It was just, right? And I felt like I was on a merry-go-round. I was spinning and spinning these thoughts more. Oh, and then, and this. Oh, and he didn't do this either. Oh, and then he said this. And oh, he looked at me that way. And it was all this. I was just spinning and spinning. And when I finally just said, okay, I'm kind of dizzy from all this anger and all this resentment and all this bitterness, I kept hearing, though, I will say, guys, we all have that little voice, right? That says, open the book. Go turn on some music you'll feel better. Go watch a funny movie. Go look at dogs on the video, right? Go watch the dog and cat videos on YouTube. Do something. And we say, no, I'm just going to stay here. I'm going to stay here. That's part of controlling yourself. I realized that I was controlling myself in the sense that I didn't want to stop what I always did. I didn't want to stop the merry-go-round because I always got on the merry-go-round for at least a couple of days, right? And I was used to that. Not that I liked it. It wasn't that I liked it, but that was where I was comfortable because I always went on the merry-go-round for a couple of days.
You were not too comfortable, of course, but that is what at the moment.
That's all I knew. That's all I knew. So I had to release myself out of that controlling thought of doing and reacting the way I always did. So even I was controlling myself, and by not removing myself from it, by not even having the courage to say, okay, I'm going to stop this right now. I'm just going to go look at that, that dog and cat video, right? I'm not going to, because I really didn't, I wanted to suffer a little longer. I wanted to keep on ruminating. And I think it becomes something that it's like we get so accustomed to it. It's like a bad drug almost. It's an emotional drug, right? Being angry. And especially if you spend a large part of your life being that.
Yeah.
So now I'm really enjoying these energies. I'm riding high on these energies. But I think it's a choice too, Irene.
Of course, it's always a choice.
We can still go on that merry-go-round if we wanted to.
Of course. And we go back to it. We go back and forth because it's not going to be like, like you decided this time around, I'm not going to do it. Then a few weeks later, we do it again. It's like we got to be gentle with ourselves. We got to be kind to ourselves. Be kind. I saw a t-shirt that says "Be kind." You know how I love t-shirts now. Anyway,
Yes.
summertime, I'm gonna be wearing them. I'm in summertime here, and it's summer over there.
It's gonna be winter over here. I'm gonna be like Irene.
But also, like earlier, I was reminded of, I don't know what you said earlier, but I was reminded about my dog, my lovely, lovely, great teacher and master who's here with me in physical form.
Yeah.
My dog, he loves socks. The moment you leave a sock there, he will just go for it. And then he will
Oh,
pick it apart. So what we do, because we were running out of socks, right? What we do, we run to the treats and give him the treats so he will let go of the socks. And of course, being the smart dog that they are, right? They know, I want a treat, I'm gonna go grab a sock. And
look at
so,
that.
the occasional times that I am aware, he grabs a sock, and then I said, let him be. Just leave him to it. We can afford to lose a sock. And lo and behold, he would stop actually tearing it apart.
Because he's
Because,
waiting for his treat. Come on, Mom.
because the treat didn't come. But my point is, you stop putting attention to something, it stops.
Yes, it goes away.
It goes
Yeah.
away. And
Yeah.
see how these these animals, our pets, are teaching us lots of things.
Yeah.
Lots of things if you only pay attention to them. And also,
Yeah.
like with my journey with my dog, my dog has had seizures for almost a year now. And the journey for me has been, it's been horrible, if I might say it. It's been horrible because my thoughts were like, it's horrible. But
Yeah.
looking back into it now, I went through different things like the Western medicine, the healing energy, crystals, whatever it is.
Holistic, yeah.
I've tried everything. Now I'm into holistic. And then I thought, I hope this works. But then, my guide reminded me that it's really not the end point of it. It's not that. You
No.
look at the journey or the everyday of it and see what you're learning and see what experiences you're experiencing. And then you start to think like, I'm not going to label this as bad. You start to allow yourself and to practice not labeling anything as bad. Of course, it takes practice, but I realized that, it's really not the end point. If he ends up not having it anymore because of the treatment that we're doing to him now, it's not that. It is actually how I got there, and the growth that I recognized for myself. So I thought that was really beautiful. And so now I've stopped looking almost to like that for his healing.
Yeah.
We're all healed already. There's nothing wrong with us.
But every moment is a moment. Every moment, especially with Charlie,
my
has
dog
been a moment. Charlie's the dog, guys. But has been a moment where you allow love's presence in.
Not all the time.
Even if it's
not
all the time.
Mad. I was
not all
mad
the time.
At him
You were
at
really
times.
mad.
Yeah.
But shortly after you got angry, you were angry because you loved him.
Yeah. And also I was like, I don't want this anymore. Right now, stop it. I don't want this anymore. But then again, that's the control. But I notice that every time I get angry, it's like, what the heck? You have seizures again, blah, blah, blah. Money out. After that outburst, because I think because I've released something, I've released the block, and then comes the the insight. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I get into that calm place again. So what I'm saying is, if that happens to you, not the seizure of the dog, but anything that happens to you, and you get into this like anger, outburst, argument, depression, severe depression, or whatever it is, be gentle with yourself, because that is probably part of the path that you have chosen.
Yeah.
And then, get up again.
Yeah, absolutely.
For another adventure on the day, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I've always thought,
it's colorful.
As you have said before, yeah. But I've always thought, like, sometimes I do think, like, I think I would feel really, really good if I am by myself, if my relationships go not in a bad way, like I'm gonna live elsewhere on my own. I think it would be very beneficial to all of us. But it also, living away doesn't mean that we're not in contact with each other. It doesn't mean that we're not gonna one day go back together again.
Right.
See what I mean?
Right.
It's just sometimes we just need time alone.
Yeah.
Time alone to
absolutely.
reflect. Because we are still all connected. Even if somebody dies, we're still connected. So.
Oh, especially now. There's so much. The veil is so thin. It's like a fog. it's not even really a veil anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
it is a wonderful time to be alive, really. Not when things are happening bad, as we label it bad, but in every time we label something as bad, the next time around we label it as it's not so bad. And then we get to a point where, okay, wow, this is wonderful.
That was good for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at what I learned. Yeah. Look at where I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
All the
grew
time.
and I'm allowing myself to grow more and to receive,
Mhm.
and just be.
So guys, on that note, just be kind and hit subscribe. Just be nice and hit subscribe. But then take those breaths, guys. Take those breaths. You
And
know, we're
laugh,
just sharing.
smile and
Laugh.
laugh.
Watch the cat dog videos. They're funny. They're great. It'll change your vibration, right? But as always, right, with anything, check with yourself. Check in with your heart. Check in with your guides, your angels, with God. You're not alone. You know,
Because whatever's happening now that you don't like, it is only an annoyance. You know how I got that is I hang on, guys, not yet. Hang on 1 minute. This video of a near-death experience came to my attention last night actually. And this lady, she was like, of course, she was dead. She was dying, but she could feel everything and she could feel the pain of her body. And then the Holy Spirit was talking to her, and she wasn't spiritual, she wasn't. It was just like one of those moments, because we are all that, Amy. And
Right.
the Holy Spirit kept telling her, it is only an annoyance. It is only an annoyance. And she said, I could feel it's like needles poking at me. Like my feet are
legs go-
burning. And then the Holy Spirit kept saying, it is only an annoyance. It is only an annoyance.
This isn't real. Wow.
So I thought, ooh, that's a good thing. It is only an annoyance.
Oh, that's
It will
hilarious.
pass.
Oh my
Anyway,
gosh, that's
on that
so
note,
funny. On that note, guys, hey, it's only an annoyance. I love that.
Yeah.
Have a good day, everyone, wherever you are in the world, and thank you very much. Take
Bye.
care.